Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another 40k video from Bricky. So I am continuing on with his every single Warhammer 40k faction re-explained, his part 2, my part 3, because I am breaking this video up into smaller parts, so I'll probably end up doing one more part after this, because it looks like there's still quite a bit of video left. But I have been enjoying these videos here. I like the way he's explaining everything. Just the way he's got the video. It's not just, hey, here's this faction here, you know, Space Marines and Super Soldiers, you know, here's a little bit of lore, yada, yada, yada. Here's this faction here, you know, and this faction. It's, you know, here's like the lore of 40k, and it started with this race, but then they also, you know, the Necrons, and the War in Heavens, and the old ones created the Eldar, so let's go into the Eldar, you know what I mean? Just the way everything flows, you know, is really good. So, Bricky always makes great videos. Wish he did more 40k videos. I know he's got like a podcast and stuff like that, but like, you know, I don't know, more lore and stuff like that. I think it'd be, you know, really cool and stuff. But either way, his videos are fantastic. So yeah, here we are picking up right with Agents of the Imperium. I think if I was ever in the 40k universe, I'd probably want to be an agent of the Imperium. You know, be like an Inquisitor. I think that'd be interesting. Not because of like all the power and, oh, I can do whatever I want. Hey, Space Marines, you're coming with me. We're going on a mission, whether you like it or not. You know, more about like the knowledge. And, you know, I'm sure they probably know like all the Imperial secrets and stuff like that. You know, I'm trying to think, you know, like right now, you know, who knows, maybe in our government, you know, there's like a very small group of people that probably maybe know aliens are real, or Bigfoot's real, or there's a moon base or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's probably like a very small group of people that, you know or don't know, you know, about that stuff. I would like to be one of those people to like know all Imperial secrets and stuff like that. I think that would be very interesting to see what they know. You know, who knows, maybe they know what's in like the dark cells and stuff like that. That would be kind of cool. You know, that would be very interesting. What if, I'm sure they probably know what's in the dark cells. Maybe not, I don't know. Will the custodians even let them? You know, I'm sure there's probably records or something like that. Maybe not, I don't know. But either way, I have a feeling they would probably know what is in the dark cells and stuff like that. Maybe they can't go down there to see it, but maybe there's some sort of Imperial records that says what it is. I don't know, just guessing, but either way, I'm sure they would probably know, and that's the type of stuff I would like to do. You know, I think that would be very interesting, but that is just me. All right, so anyways, yeah, let's jump in and continue on. Here we go.
I carry with me an inquisitorial seal. It is a small, unassuming object contained in a neat box of pluvian obsidian. It is a modest thing, relatively plain, adorned with a single motif and a simple motto. Yet with this little object, I can sign the death warrant of an entire world and consign a billion souls to oblivion. Where the Imperium may see its justice dealt out by the hands of its armies and the gauntlets of its Astartes, when one needs eyes, ears, or both cut out, it looks to the agents of the Imperium. In a meta sense, these agents are a homogenized version of multiple factions from the original video 5 years ago. They comprise multiple aspects of the wide and all-encompassing armies of humanity and serve different roles. Whether it be the law enforcers of the Adeptus Arbites, the void-faring explorers of rogue traders, the invisible hand of the Assassinorum, or the hospitality of the Emperor's Inquisition. Each has a part to play in the God Emperor's domain.
Of
Rogue
course.
traders are a great example of a somewhat undiscussed part of the Imperium, its nobility. While you may see the general Imperium as a totalitarian hellscape, because it is,
Right.
this is to those under the boot of the nobles that run it. Rogue traders are a special kind of explorer, and their existence is extremely important to the function of the Imperium. A rogue trader is often an extremely special individual and is given the monumentally sized warrant of trade, allowing them to be given almost complete and utter freedom. Their task is simple.
I mean, that's not a bad thing to have utter freedom in 40k.
Explore and conquistador for those back on Terra. This information is, strictly speaking, invaluable. Whether a sector can be settled and colonies built, or precious rare resources exist on a floating asteroid can be mined, or a long-lost Imperial world from the Age of Strife is recovered,
what game is that?
It's all absolutely imperative. These rogue traders are faster than any other kind of Imperial armada, and therefore chart the direction of the entire society. Because of this, rogue traders are given a substantial amount of freedom. They have a ship and a crew of specialists, and can do things that would see any normal person shocked. They can barter deals and even recruit Xenos races. They can explore areas strictly...
That is very interesting that they can recruit Xenos races and still get away with it.
This tends to make rogue traders a very long lineage, and their heirs take up the mantle of their house. By being explorers, they become fabulously wealthy, and some can become quite the assholes while doing so. But truly,
okay, something about
like
that guy then.
Pilot, a rogue trader is an exceptionally rich individual who can back it up. They are master swordsmen, explorers, merchants, settlers, diplomats, and everything in between.
So apparently not him.
Course, and they set the ground, which means they will need someone to defend them, and the prime choice for that can be the Adeptus Arbites. Now, the Arbites are cops, Judge Dredd-style cops, as their inspiration clearly shows. Each planet will have their own members of local law enforcement, and most of them will settle many of the issues there and then. But when something requires a far more in-depth peacekeeping force, the Adeptus Arbites are brought in. Think local police versus the FBI. Arbitrators in the Arbites tend to focus heavily on stopping crime before it can become too much of a threat. A criminal gang or heretical uprising can be subdued quickly and efficiently by utilizing them and dealing with soon-to-be criminals, as they put it. They will tap into communications, create spy networks, do interrogations and sabotage, anything that helps the good of the Imperium and the law they seek to preserve. The Code of the Arbites is laid out entirely via the Book of Judgment, a gigantic library of pages showing every single law from every single High Lord of Terra in the history of the Imperium. Because the Imperium is so vast, hundreds of laws are added every single day, and the library continues to grow with more and more laws and judgments. While Arbites themselves carry a small version called the Book of Law on their person, this does end up creating a system where the unjustly prosecuted will never escape their prisons. If an innocent is wrongly convicted, any form of legal counsel will need to go through the Book of Judgment to help get you out. Often these prisoners require hundreds of years of litigation, in which they will eventually expire before they can be deemed wrongly convicted. Innocence is irrelevant.
That is insane that you'll die before you get
the Lex Imperialis. Do not compound your guilt.
Get your judgment overruled.
As there are greater crimes, so are there greater sentences. Of course, should something go out of the hands of the Adeptus Arbites, there is always the silent hand of the Officio Assassinorum to take their place. Naturally, the Imperium has assassins, and these assassins are sent to dispatch important figures that would not normally be handled by simply sending waves and waves of guardsmen at it. The Assassinorum is headed by the Grand Master of the Assassinorum, who is a High Lord of Terra and perhaps the shadiest individual in the entire galaxy. At his disposal are multiple types of assassins that all specialize in various things. Their training is extreme and absurd. Aspirant children are often subjected to
they're going to be an assassin, so of course their training is going to be intense.
Temple. Then you get low gravity, high pressure, traps, horrendous physical and mental strain, and everything in between. Then their minds are wiped completely, and the real fun begins. An Imperial assassin is nothing to mess around with. They are some of the fastest moving and hardest hitting things the Imperium has at hand, and can go toe to toe with Space Marines depending on which temple they are from. Some, like the Vindicators, are master snipers who lie in wait for weeks, days, or even months just to get the perfect headshot from 5 kilometers away and disappear.
Well, I mean, makes sense if that is like the only thing they're training is just sniping,
you know. To transmute their body into whatever they see fit. A confidant of a target may be killed and they will take their place before killing their target outright. Or they could shift into a member of a Chaos Warband with symbols and flesh and all that to earn the trust of a cult leader before slitting their throat. The Caluxus assassin is a psychic blank, a soulless mutation, making them appear as uneasy to normal humans and downright disgusting to psychers. When a powerful psycher is causing issues, this is who you send. Their specialized helmet enhances their already latent powers.
Now, how strong are they compared to like Sisters of Silence?
The souls from those they touch and their very body. It is an extreme weapon used when a direct form of pressure must be applied to an otherwise untouchable psyker. Now, if you needed direct pressure in a more literal way, the Eversor is for you. A drugged up comatose psychopath that is directly dropped on enemy lines and allowed to wreak havoc, killing anything and everything it sees in a blaze of movement and blood before it inevitably dies and causes a plasma explosion on its demise. There are other temples as well. The Vanus Temple, acting as sort of like a cyber hacker. The Venom Temple, specializing in poisons. But all in all, assassins move with their speed.
Interesting. I didn't know there was other temples aside from those four.
Force unexpected. One of the best assassin novels puts a Vindicator Calidus and Vanus to infiltrate a night world, kill the High Monarch of the Night, who is permanently stuck in his giant robot knight, install a new ruler in his stead, and make sure nobody knows the Imperium did it. Their missions are insanity, and their tasks impossible, and they do it anyway.
Sounds pretty interesting.
Thus is the power the Assassinorum wields. We do not determine the guilty, we do not decide the punishment. We are merely the cold instrument of the Emperor's vengeance. There is no form of death unknown to us. There is no form of terror beyond our means. There is no enemy outside our reach. We are the blade that hovers over the throat of the traitor. We are the bullet that awaits the heretic's skull. We are the poison in the throat of the alien. However, despite the prowess of the traitors, the police, and the assassins, there is one that stands above all. As the Imperium settled into its post-Emperor world, they needed a force to root out corruption wherever it could be found. But they needed specialized individuals who could do so. Men and women who would serve as detectives and executioners. This new secret police would have unlimited authority, and they would be known as the Inquisition. Inquisitors of the Inquisition are one of the most feared individuals in all of the galaxy for the common members of humanity. Trained in the most difficult of conditions and mental hardening, they have long closed their minds to the compassions of those they deem guilty. Inquisitors are, for the most part, detectives, but they are detectives whose authority is unmatched and actions justified by the state itself, similar to
which is very impressive.
The Gestapo, the Stasi, the OVRA, but unlike those organizations, the Inquisition has far more authority and is one of the only types of individuals
don't really have to report to anyone.
Exterminatus, the term used for the utter and total destruction of a planet that is no longer deemed usable by the Imperium. While it is a very exciting word and a commonly notable thing done in Warhammer,
very rarely
Exterminatus is not actually used particularly often.
Right.
It's a last resort entirely meant to stop the enemy from gaining a major foothold or spread even more corruption. Even with a million,
but how do you determine like what's too much? You know what I mean?
Massive blow to the Imperium. Inquisitors range quite a bit, not just in how they
like if Tyranids take over a whole planet.
They are
right, that's it.
Main characters for a lot
take it out,
books,
you know.
Detective noir is a great genre, and they can be the most stone-cold killer or a pragmatic and sympathetic individual depending on who they are. Radical Inquisitors may utilize methods unlike most of the Imperium, such as alien tech or even demon hosts, where Puritans stick closer to the methods of the religious state and shun any deviations. They also specialize in various aspects, as the Inquisition has orders or ordos, such as Xenos for aliens, Malleus for demons, and Hereticus for, you guessed it. Truly, if you are a normal citizen of the Imperium, a person flashing an inquisitorial rosette in front of you may be one of the most terrifying moments of your entire life. It is the same as an FBI badge or a KGB member, except now you're in Warhammer. So, their authority and tools are infinite. Agents of the Imperium are vast and offer a ton of different concepts to the world of Warhammer. and they continue to expand as the Emperor's descent into the Golden Throne has lasting effects on humanity. As time progressed, a few people seeing the Emperor as a deity made their voices louder, and over a few thousand years, worship of the Emperor was not only considered expected, but state mandated. This church will be known as the Ecclesiarchy, and there were many who would look to the cardinal position and make desperate
See, this is how I like his video. As we weave right into the next faction.
Apostasy was a time of reformation in
Here we go.
That saw
The Sisters of Battle.
change into an overtly religious empire. During this time, an all-female warrior cult to the Emperor called the Daughters.
See, that's what I like about this video, just the way it just flows.
However, as
and now here we go, right into the Sisters of Battle.
One Goj Van Dyer became the High Lord of the Administratum and noticed these warriors and felt they could be useful to him. Goj himself told these warriors that he was the voice of the Emperor himself and demanded they fire upon him to prove it. Having a little hidden force field that this warrior Cole had never seen before, the bullet bounced off of him and showing him to be unharmed, truly blessed by the Emperor. This cult became known as the Brides of the Emperor and acted as his personal bodyguards.
I gotta learn more about that guy.
Aides. However, Goj Van Dyer was a tyrant, and his horrendous reign spelled ruination for the wider Imperium, which made the Adeptus
I gotta find a video on him.
take notice. Despite an outright coup and revolt against him, the deadlock was getting steep as the Brides of the Emperor's fierce combat skills kept him safe. One custodian made contact with the leader of the Brides and brought her into the throne room of the Emperor himself. Nobody knows what transpired in that room, save for Alicia Dominica, the custodian, and the Emperor himself. However, she left the room with her hair bleached pure white from the interaction, marched her battle brides directly to Van Dyer himself and said, "You have committed the ultimate heresy. Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you have profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he has striven to build. You have perverted and twisted the path he has laid for mankind to tread. As your decrees have stated, there can be no mercy."
So what happened in that throne room
no
then?
Pity for such a criminal.
So that explains why all their hair is
you
white.
Walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and it is now time for you to die. Despite not having any time to die, Goj Van Dyer found some time to do so. With his head lopped clean from his body, the Brides of the Emperor were no more, and the Ecclesiarchy signed a document to stop Van Dyer's reign from happening again. They would no longer be allowed to have men under arms. Men.
So that explains why it's not female based.
The Adeptus Sororitas, or commonly known as the Sisters of Battle.
See, I like this video. It's giving way more lore. I had no idea about that.
Despite being the main militant faction, the Sisters of Battle, their organization actually is far more diverse than this and have many more nun-based roles for their members. They are organized by various orders with various specialties in mind, such as the non-militant orders like the Hospitaller, Dialogus,
that one right there,
Familius, including
white and red's pretty badass looking.
Surgical equipment and various other medical stuff, Duolingo, and a poli-sci degree. These orders are further separated into smaller orders in an almost Space Marine chapter sense, but tend to have more flexibility due to the nature of their work. And in addition to that, there is flexibility between the orders. It is not uncommon for a member of one of the more battle-hardened orders to switch to a more passive one once they sustain battlefield injuries or are a bit closer to retirement. As mentioned before, the Sisters of Battle are a
That's pretty interesting that they can swap orders.
Orders militant, and feature the highest number of any given system. They are the official fighting force of the Ecclesiarchy.
So are they limited to how many?
Wars of filth.
Probably not. But are they limited to like 1,000 sisters per order, kind of like Space Marines, or is that just a Space Marine only thing?
Holy war nature of their battles. The Sisters of Battle are suited up with their own form of specialized power armor that gives them almost like a Joan of Arc vibe to the battlefield. Though lacking the more extreme modifications of a Space Marine's power armor, mainly to the fact that Sisters are For the most part, regular humans, the power armor of a Sister of Battle almost matches the defensive power of an Astartes, but with added flexibility and versatility in exchange for strength. Some of the patterns of armor do allow for the enhancing of genetics, but this is far from the norm. This, combined with an arsenal of tanks and vehicles that have literal church organ rocket launchers on them.
I actually got that in Tacticus.
The holy
I just unlocked that in
vibe.
Tacticus, so I'm starting to level that up.
Accompanying a Sister of Battle in the fields of war is the holy trinity.
Anyone else play Tacticus?
The bolter, the flamer, and the melter. With such a simple loadout, the Sisters of Battle are able to bring down the glorious flames of the Emperor himself, and his holy light shines on them in other ways during conflict. Hell, even their jump packs evoke angelic imagery as opposed to the more clunky jetpacks, ones that Space Marines have. In times of great turmoil or impossibility, a living saint of the sororitas itself might appear on the battlefield surrounded by a litany of doves and cherubs, an almost comical scene of holy glory followed by literal hellfire. The Sisters are a fascinating organization because they take what is normally seen as a benevolent force and turn it on its head to be a horrifying method of war. Because the Sisters are so zealous, they are nigh impossible to persuade and almost never fall to chaos. In fact, any deviation from the Imperial faith may see you killed outright as you are deemed a heretic, and sometimes Sisters have even less patience than the Inquisition does. To the Adeptus Sororitas, no punishment is too extreme for blasphemy or heretical behavior. Whether it's lobotomizing traitors to use as shock troops or attaching them physically to agonizing pain engines so they can die for the Emperor, anything goes. The most fascinating part of the Sisters is their faith.
Flagellants,
we discussed how orcs often make things happen through belief because of their sheer number of them. The Sisters create miracles where they walk. They are not many psychers like orcs, but they are excessively devout and make up for that. Bullets barely miss targets they absolutely should hit. Guns jam, tanks malfunction, enemies slip and fall. The scene from Pulp Fiction is an accurate portrayal of what happens when the Sisters fight.
Really?
I'd knock that shit off if I was you.
Die, you motherfucker! One of the most prominent figures is the Triumph of St. Catherine, a literal open casket with the saint of a Sister's order held aloft by lobotomized servant cherubs and protected by bodyguards of the faithful. The devotion to the Emperor swells so strong that acts of faith are made manifest, and sometimes angels themselves. When the Sisters go to war, they have thundering organs and litanies screeching out into the battlefield. Hymns
so far, that's been really good in Tacticus. Not gonna lie.
Prayers on their lips and burn holy fire across the area. They spray holy water down from horns atop their vehicles. It is a genuine holy war, a procession of death. Saint Celestine is an undying deity, arriving precisely where she is needed and returning to the fold after each death. When she dies, she sees a crying young girl atop a mountain of bones. Her bones, after every one of her deaths. She climbs this mountain every time
there's the Exorcist.
to help comfort this crying child and is rebirthed upon the battlefield.
And speaking of Celestine,
her deaths will create a mountain so large that even
she is a beast in that game.
Is she a demon of the god?
I've been leveling her up like crazy.
But she'll be shot for saying so. She is genuinely and literally faith made manifest. Some Sisters may make a mistake, however, and find themselves questioning their faith, disobeying a command, even leaving their order. These Sisters are sent for reconditioning and are known as the Sisters Repentia. They generally face the front of the line head on and seek retribution and forgiveness from the Emperor himself. Though their actions were heretical, repentia on the fields of battle is an indication of an individual wanting to become forgiven. They run aloft with torture devices attached to their body and a chainsaw the size of their body, completely armless.
You would think that would be something in chaos.
If this is how they die, or if the Emperor will forgive them. even the most famous champion of sisters, that Saint Celestine, was a Repentia. Even she questioned her faith. And if she can do it, so can you. Just
that's pretty impressive.
Don't run away again. They don't really do third chances. The Sisters of Battle are martyrdom-enthused zealots that create miracles in their church.
I mean, they do
Their
look badass. I mean, that looks so cool.
A direct source of their power. A whole army of power-armored soldiers shooting, burning, and melting all in their path.
I mean, can you just imagine wearing that into battle, just having like this fire
is on your side.
Fire backpack.
By bolter shell, flamer burst, and melta blast, the mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sin of existence. So has it been for 5 millennia, so shall it be until the end of time. The Imperium devolving into wars of faith is to push its agenda further. Where the xenophobic nature of humanity was once strong, it has now been magnified, and there are plenty of aliens in this galaxy. 6,000 years prior to the current events of 40k, a planet was found by an AdMech exploration vessel. The life forms on the planet were seen using tools, but they were still very primitive, so the planet was marked for destruction to pave the way for the Imperial War Machine. However, this was thrown off because of an extreme warp storm and that whole Doge Van Dyer thing. Flash forward to modern day, and an unknown but highly advanced vessel was shot down near an Imperial mining world, and the bodies on this vessel matched those life forms found on that primitive world. The native creatures on that planet were able to evolve rapidly, them being unobstructed, and their highly advanced gear posed a new threat to the Imperium. Advancing over these years at a remarkable speed, these are the new upstarts in the galaxy, looking to make a name for themselves, all in the name of the greater good. These are the... The alien is not intrinsically evil. Do not hate him. Pity him.
I mean, they are an interesting army. Not something I really wanted to play when I was playing the game, but I just like melee, you know, or having the option to do melee. I know the Tau do have the crew that are good in melee, but still.
Due to their extreme speed run to space travel, their journey
I wasn't a big fan of the hit and run type of stuff.
It wasn't until the appearance of the Ethereals that things began to settle. These Tau to the warring tribes marked their unification under one common belief: the greater good of the Tau Var.
What about the greater good?
The greater good. How can this be for the greater good? The greater good.
This system is a caste-based system that seeks to unify and organize the Tau.
I mean, they do have some really cool ships, though. Not gonna lie.
While working for their mutual benefit. These castes.
And you remember that Forge World ship they made that was like 2 feet long or some crazy thing like that?
FIO, which is manufacturers and industrialists, the water or core being diplomats and traders, and the air/core being navy officers. Also, you have the ethereal/un, which is the lords and leaders of the Tau. Now, unlike the paths of the Eldar, the Tau don't get any say into which caste they're in. It's determined upon birth due to inheritance from a parent. Trying to deviate from your caste, or trying to do tasks or even use tools assigned to another caste is a grievous crime against the Ethereals, and those guilty of this crime tend to be sent to re-education camps, which sounds not so greater good, but a greater good than the good that the Imperium sees as greater. The guidance of the greater good also encourages the growth of the Empire through the absorption of other races and cultures. The expansion of the Tau Empire is split into spheres of time. So far, there have been 5 spheres of expansion, with a 6th one being planned in the current timeline. The first 2 spheres saw the Tau move beyond their homeworld and settle new planetary systems, known as septs, and absorb multiple races into their ranks. The 3rd sphere is where we see the Tau interact with the Imperium for the first time. Which went about as well as you think it did. The Tau, as mentioned before, are highly advanced compared to some of the other species in the galaxy, and their military tactics are highly precise. Instead of the
so who is more advanced, Tau or Necrons?
The Tau carefully assess any battle and take as many precautions as possible. Commonly, you will see a Tau warrior in a heavily modified battle.
I mean, me, I kind of, I do a little favoritism, but I'd probably say Necrons, since Necrons have been around a lot longer than Tau.
So they don't really stock into it. Their
got a head start in all that
Gundam-like
technology
battlesuits have a
learning.
multitude of functionality, ranging from overwhelming firepower to stealth-based combat. And since they're an upstart species with a bit of technical flair, they have plenty of AI drones that help them in the field of battle. In addition to this, the Tau are also joined in the field of battle by some of the species that have been absorbed into the fold of the greater good. These auxiliaries often employ tactics that the Tau are unable to do on their end, such as the brute force and almost primitive nature of the Kroot, combined with the Geonosian aerial shock attack style of the Vespens. But the Tau assimilate more and more species with time, including even some humans who wish to break off from the Imperium for pick a reason. The aesthetic of the Tau also leans a bit more into the East Asian sci-fi aesthetics. The large mech suits definitely evoke that Gundam look, but the general garb of their higher-ups kind of create that motif, and they often have accents in the games that they are in. But while Tau are looked at as Gundam mech faction by some, others enjoy them for the full coalition of aliens. One of my favorite images in Warhammer is this official artwork by Games Workshop. Now, not a single one of these aliens are a faction in Warhammer, and yet they all are different species that do
Where's
exist
that picture
in this
from?
Universe. The Milky Way galaxy is vast.
Where can I see that picture?
Imperium and many others exterminate what they can find,
I want to take a closer look at that. That looks kind of interesting. That's officially from Games Workshop?
And the humans and also Voton will join them at times. But you also have the Galg, the Nikasar, the Vorg, the Thraxian, the Terrellian, Greet, Domati, and many others. Some of these are just one-off lines, and some are major players in the civilization. The Nikasar are, for lack of a better word, gigantic psychic polar bears with bird-like faces. The Tau have psychic bears. And the fact I haven't seen this is a crime. The Tau as a culture are generally marred by the various issues that advanced
Not gonna lie, that sounds pretty
have
badass.
in an unadvanced galaxy. They do not travel through the warp because of the insane dangers, but instead use a more classic FTL jump. However, because they aren't going through hell, it makes them a lot slower than many other races. The Imperium might surf through hell and lose a few ships, but they will get there first. Often they will take enormous cannons and weaponry and defeat their foes before they can even close the gap. One of their light walkers carried a weapon of lethal effect. It fired a form of ultra-high velocity projectile. I saw one of our tanks after being hit by it. There was a small hole punched in either flank. One, the projectile's entry point, the other its exit. The tiny munition had passed through the vehicle with such speed that everything within the hole not welded down had been sucked out through the exit hole, including the crew. We never identified their bodies, but all that remained of them was a red stain upon the ground, extending some 20 meters from the wreck. The fascination of the Tau is that in any other modern-day society would be horrid. Rigid caste systems, corruption, politicking ethereals, and basically it's the greater good or nothing at all. But in the world of Warhammer, the simple fact that humans are accepted into their sphere should they please already puts them far and above the other races that would murder or eat them. But despite this, the existential dread that is the Tau Empire is ever so apparent. Despite being hyper-advanced and welcoming a coalition of aliens, they are the upstarts, and they are painfully outnumbered on all sides. Almost any other faction in the universe, given the right amount of force, can wipe out the Tau Empire from existence. They themselves might not be perfect, but their slight glimmer of hope is exactly that, a glimmer in a dark and crushing galaxy.
I didn't know how badly outnumbered they are.
Attempts to destroy the Tau Empire, because doing so is an enormous amount of resources, and for the same reason why you don't full send your whole army to one person in a commander game of Magic. You open yourself up to player 2 and 3. But not to say it won't be a struggle. The Tau Empire, when prepared, are a vicious fighting force who might delete your formation before you even see them. But they lack numbers. And in the dark corners of the galaxy, something is coming that is entirely numbers.
Alright, so there we go. That is where I will stop it for now. So we got Tyranids next. That's going to be good. But yeah, that was another really good part to this video, you know. Especially about the Sisters Battle and stuff like that. That is very cool. I'm going to have to watch it, find a video at least about, what was it, Doge Van Dyer? Yeah, was that his name? You know, find a video about him to get more information, you know, and learn more about him and stuff like that, because I didn't know that's why there was no men in the Sisters of Battle. You know, so that's very interesting, and I guess that explains the white hair, because what was her name was brought into the throne room and stuff like that, and when she came back out, you know, her hair was completely white. So I guess that makes sense as to why the sisters all have white hair. Makes you wonder what was said in that throne room, what happened, what took place. You know, that's very interesting. So yeah, that was very cool. You know, and of course, Agents of the Imperium, the Assassins, the Arbites, the Inquisitors, rogue traders. It'd be kind of interesting to be a rogue trader and stuff like that. But yeah, I probably definitely want to be more of a an Inquisitor and stuff like that. So, but that's just me. But yeah, a lot of really good information from the sisters and stuff like that. You know, the Tau Empire was pretty cool as well. Seemed like a lot of that stuff you went through. I do want to see where I can find this picture, because he said it was Games Workshop.
Enjoy them for the full coalition of aliens. One of my favorite images in Warhammer is this official artwork by Game.
So this is an official artwork. Yeah, I want to find this and try to see if I can take a closer look at it, because it looks very interesting. So is this supposed to be all the...
in Warhammer, and yet they all are different species that do exist in this universe.
Oh, okay, so this is just artwork of the different alien species in 40k. Okay, that looks kind of creepy, whatever that thing is. Yeah, I gotta find that, because I want to take a better look at this picture. It looks pretty cool. But, yeah. So that was a great video about the Agents of the Imperium, the Sisters, and the Tau. So I didn't know the Tau were very outnumbered and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Once again, learning a lot more from these videos, you know. So yeah, there we go. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. Links in the description box below. And, of course, leave me all your thoughts and comments. What do you guys think about this video here as part 2 and stuff like that? Are you learning some more stuff? Things you didn't know? You know? Let me know. And if there is a video that goes into more detail about, what was it, Doge Van Dyer, let me know. I'd like to learn more about him and stuff like that, and what also, you know, what went down with him, you know, so that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the thumbs up button if you did, and other than that, yeah, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.